One night I was with my boyfriend before going to sleep. We were joking around about UFOs and reptilians. It was raining a lot that day. It seemed like the sky was going to fall. I told him that the UFOs or reptilians were going to take him that night, and they would leave me to tell the story. Clearly, I was joking, but he was more asleep than awake. I noticed he fell asleep. Then I tried to sleep and felt like I was starting to get sleep paralysis. So I was trying to stay awake until I eventually fell asleep. That night I had sleep paralysis, but I had never experienced seeing something during sleep paralysis. What I saw truly scared me so much that I thought it would take me away. Suddenly I saw that it was a black figure, maybe human, but completely black, very tall, standing in front of me watching me. It whispered things I didn't understand. At that moment, I felt as if my body was going numb. I was filled with terror, thinking that I had summoned them and that they were going to take me away. I have a strong belief in God, and even though I don't go to church very often, I believe that God has the power to protect you from anything in the world. So I began to pray, calling out for help. Thanks to that, I was able to wake up and move. I touched my body. I was sweating cold and my heart was racing. I was too scared to look to the side, so I covered myself from head to toe and managed to fall asleep. The next day I told my boyfriend about what I dreamt, and he says he didn't hear or feel anything. It's very strange. I don't know what scientific explanation there is for sleep paralysis, or if it's a natural brain phenomenon. Hello. Since December is starting, here is an experience I had with dogs acting very strange, even though in my case it wasn't a black dog, like many people I know say they have seen, either black or white. In Chiapas, what they call cadejo, there are many legends and versions of the supposed hellhound, as they call it in Europe. But rather what happened is that some entity took the form of one of my poodles. This happened about 5 or 6 years ago. I remember it was past 3 in the morning, and I was in the dining room of my house, finishing some university projects. Being the good student that I was there when I heard the dog growling at me from the folding door that separates a corridor we had from the dining room. I quickly reacted thinking it was one of my dogs, so I turned to see what was wrong, calling it when I saw it at the door. My breath was taken away. Though it had the shape of my poodle, it was different. Its snout was flattened to the level of its eyes, as if its jaw had been broken, and it had huge fangs that looked like knives. Its face was completely flat, and its eyes were red, larger than those of a normal dog. It was looking at me angrily, growling at me from the doorway's opening. I was paralyzed. I remember the atmosphere was cold and heavy, like a very chilly winter night. I was so scared that I didn't dare move. I just started calling for my mom, but she never heard me. I was trapped. I couldn't run away. I finally decided to turn away to avoid its gaze, as it was staring directly into my eyes. Then the growl stopped, and when I turned back, it was no longer there. I waited a few seconds and then ran to my mother's room. The door was shut with the handle. When I entered, there was my dog sleeping. It had never moved from that spot, and it couldn't open the door for obvious reasons. I don't know what that thing was, but I will never forget its face and gaze. I didn't see it completely, but if the door had been open, that thing would have attacked me without hesitation. His gaze made me feel like I was in danger. He was watching each of my movements intently. It was a horrible sense of danger. I had an experience with a cadejo, or rather, my dad did. Here's what happened. My dad stayed in a hotel when he went to work in a village far away. He thought that because of his sleepless nights, work, and exhaustion, he was hearing or seeing things. It was his way of explaining what was happening. Sometimes at night, not always but fairly often, He said he started to hear a very low growl next to his house, and sometimes he would see very small yellow eyes in the darkness far away. He let it go, thinking it was all due to exhaustion, but the situation got out of control and escalated. Until one day he heard the sound of hooves like those of a horse or a goat on the ceramic floor. My dad was in the bathroom. He came out and managed to see it head on. He told me that thing was furious because it was breathing heavily through its nose. My father immediately took the Bible and began to read, so that thing would leave and let him be. The entity backed away towards a wall and disappeared. That same night he says he heard it again. It went by his door, growled at him once more, and went on its way. It sounded like it was going somewhere. After a few seconds, the hoof steps were no longer heard. The worst part is that this happened just a few days before the pandemic started, and that we were all confined to our homes. We were far away, so I tried to help him as best as I could. The experience was horrible. I don't know what's going on in that hotel, but my dad says he will never stay there again. He prefers to go somewhere else. I think maybe the owner has some kind of pact with something, and that's why bringing a Bible into its territory upset it.